Trust the experts. Trust EcoDrive for accurate information, the right advice, and an experienced perspective. Hi everyone, I'm here today to talk to you about the Viewers' Choice Awards at the 2025 EcoDrive Awards. Now, which bike or car gets the totem? That's up to you. You have to vote for your favorite. So let's quickly run you through some of these really cool nominees. We're going to start with bikes, and we'll do it in alphabetical order. The first nominee is the Aprilia RS 457. Now, this is a bike that you don't really have to say much about because when you look at it, it speaks volumes. The design is super sporty. It's very accessible, a bike that looks like that and has the kind of performance it does for the kind of price point we're talking. Now, its big USPs are the precision it has when it comes to the handling, but that pricing is not for everyone. And of course, not everyone wants that much of an extreme sporty bike. So when it comes to the riding stance, you may not really like it, but just look at how it has been designed. I think it really turns heads everywhere it goes. Next up is the Ather Rizta. Now, this was the long-awaited next model from Ather, and it's significantly different. It's not just a variation of the 450. It's a completely different product, both in terms of its platform and also its purpose-built function. It's a family scooter, so it has a big seat, it has lots of storage. It is of course very efficient, and it is very practical and easy to operate. Again, the downside with the Rizta is that the fully loaded trims, they get a little bit pricey. But hey, who's looking at that when appeal is what counts, right? Now let's get into another bike that's been talked about a lot right through this year. It is the NS 400Z from Bajaj. Now, we had lots of new bikes coming from Bajaj this year, but this has to be the one with the most amount of oomph factor and also a lot of appeal. A lot of you really talked about it. It's very popular. It's a crowd puller. And again, we're talking about a more affordable 400cc. That's really what it brings to the table. Besides that, it's good performance, it's good engineering, and then you know what, you've got the Pulsar DNA that really starts to kick in. This is what the CS400, or let's say what became the Dominar, should always have been. And now we come to the modern classic, the BSA Gold Star 650. Modern classic, and the looks certainly don't disappoint. It's also the revival of the BSA brand and the first product from this new brand into our market. A lot of people really love how well the attention to detail has been brought into that design, and so you can see that in terms of materials, in terms of execution. But in terms of features, of course, the bike does lose out. It's really trying to be more classic and less modern perhaps when it comes to that, but people still like it, it's still fun to ride, and it is surprisingly refined. From a niche product, we go to a really mass and high appeal product, the Hero Extreme 125R. Now, the 125cc segment is all about the commuters and it's all about practicality, but it's nice to see some edgy bikes in this space as well. Now, while you have the glamour from Hero playing the usual commuter role, the Extreme 125R is literally the edgier product or the sibling or alter ego to that bike. And that's because of the way it looks, it's also because of the way it performs. It's still surprisingly efficient, and it manages to stand out in the crowd, yet giving you that little bit of affordability that the 125cc space brings. The Java 42 FJ. Now, when this bike first came out, we were all wondering why we need another Java 42. And then when you get close to it, you experience it, you realize that it's not just about the updated engine that you get with this. It's also about the changes and tweaks in the styling and the overall sex appeal that the bike brings. Now, there have been issues when it comes to servicing and network for the brand, but otherwise, this is a massive improvement that we are seeing Java take. The 42 FJ is a good representation of that. All this talk about modern classics, how can we not talk about Royal Enfield? It was really tough for us to pick one nominee because there were so many new bikes from Royal Enfield this year, but we went with the Goan Classic 350. Why? Well, just look at how it looks. Now, this is one bike that again gets a lot of conversation going. It's got a beautiful retro charm and appeal, and yet is packed with a fair number of modern features, and it is reasonably affordably priced compared to the regular 350. I say that because a lot of people want something with a little bit extra, a little bit of attitude, and a little bit of personal appeal coming through. The Goan Classic gives you that. Next up, it's the Triumph Speed T4. A roadster was always expected as the next body style, and so we weren't really disappointed. In fact, when it comes to expectations, the Speed T4 does really well. It's really nice and fun to ride, but the chassis setup as well as the suspension tuning don't really match up to the roadster part of it. And so while it comes to a lot of street cred and a lot of sex appeal on this one too, we feel like it could have just gone a little bit further had they planned to push it that much further. But it's still a great bike. It's still a very deserving nominee. Not so many scooters in this pack, but yes, we've got another one now, the TVS Jupiter 110. Now, this is the next generation of a very popular nameplate. The Jupiter has done really well for TVS, especially in the northern market where TVS initially didn't used to have a huge presence. The Jupiter is a great brand ambassador in a way for the brand. The new one really takes things forward. There's lots of innovation in terms of design. It also looks pretty sexy. And, they've got some neat tricks like the way the petrol tank has been fitted into the floor, the extra floor space you get, the extra cargo space you get. You can put 2 helmets into that little boot under the seat. Yeah, it's a pretty cool design and engineering win. And finally, it's the Ultraviolet F77 Mark II. India's fastest EV superbike gets even faster, gets a whole lot of updates and also gets some new colors. Now, this is going to be a really nascent sort of a play right now, but it's a segment that could really emerge. What Ultraviolet is doing in the space is paving the way for a lot more products to follow. And of course, it looks really sexy too. So that wraps up the 10 nominees for Viewer's Choice Bike. You got to tell us what you like, but not just here in the comments section. Go ahead and scan that QR code and vote. Now let's take a look at the cars. Again, we've got 10 nominees for you. Again, they're from different brands and different body styles. Let's get started with an EV. The BYD E-Max 7. Now this is the new generation after the E6. And while the E6 was a drab, boring, fleet-looking car, this one really takes it up a notch in terms of the styling and everything you get on the inside. It's really well appointed, lots of tech, lots of comfort, and different seating configurations. More than 500 kilometers is the claimed driving range too. The second nominee is the Citroën Basalt. Now this was the first coupe SUV because it managed to beat the curve to the market. It comes in with really well-proportioned styling. It looks nice and upmarket. There were huge changes made to the overall offering from Citroën as compared to what we had seen on the Aircross previously. And so this is the better appointed product. It also has some neat little tricks like that seat innovation for the rear. Our third nominee really needs no introduction, the Hyundai Creta. It's a powerhouse brand. It's the most popular and best-selling car in its segment. In fact, one of the best-selling cars of the whole year. This is the huge facelift that happened on the Creta. It was expected. It brought in a lot more in terms of tech and also in terms of features. It's also got a new design language going both in the front and at the rear. It's another facelift next, and we're talking about the other Korean, the Kia Sonet. Also brought in its big expected facelift, lots of new features, of course, as always, and new styling. Now, what we are seeing with the design in particular is an evolution that's more pronounced towards opposites united, the global design language. It's more vertical. There's a lot more LED that's almost disproportionate compared to the rest of the car. And it's in line with what you've seen with cars like the EV9 and the new Ceros. The Creta, the Sonet, another powerhouse brand, the Mahindra Thar rocks. Huge anticipation, huge booking numbers, huge waiting period. Yes, this car again doesn't really need an introduction. Everybody wanted a 5-door Thar. They got it this year. And it wasn't just about adding those doors or the wheelbase. It was also about bringing in a lot more freshness, better cabin design, a lot more tech, and more access through a better interface to that tech. The powerhouse brands just keep rolling. Maruti Suzuki Swift. Again, really, do I have to tell you about this car? The fourth generation of the hatch was very tough for us to pick because we also saw the Desire come out with a new generation, but really so much reverence for this huge brand. One of the best-selling cars in the country, still a huge favorite, and finally with a two-tone roof option. But it's more than that the new generation brings in, and it's also much better built with higher safety as standard. Our seventh nominee is the MG Windsor. Now, while we all kept debating about whether it's a hatch or an MPV, the whole pitch from MG was all about business class and luxury. Very different interiors, huge, amazing use of that space, and of course, all of that tech with the large screens and everything else. Decent driving range, which could have been better because you could have got a bigger battery, frankly. But besides all of that, it has become one of India's best-selling EVs already. The last of our facelifts in the running is the Nissan Magnite. Another brand that's done really well, in fact kept the fortunes of the Nissan brand going. And the Magnite now returns with all of its really strong and clever innovations, but adds to it. There is a little bit of a styling tweak, there are new colors and there are new features, but the fuel efficiency and the overall product offering remains intact. It's also still very affordably priced. This one has been quite popular already since relaunch. So many expectations from the Tata Curvv and its EV counterpart. It was a huge announcement when Tata said it's going to do ICE and EV together, and of course also go into that coupe SUV space. A huge amount of tech that we've also seen coming from Tata in terms of interface and features, all of that features on the Curvv. But you're also seeing new colors, new treatments, new materials, and well, we'll have to wait and see what the market verdict is, but so far, Tata has already started grading itself on a new Curvv. And our last nominee is the Toyota Tizer. Now, it took us a while to figure out how to say Tizer right, but what you didn't take long to figure out is that this is, of course, the rebadged Maruti Suzuki Fronx. It brings all the strengths of the Fronx, but adds a little extra in terms of Toyota styling and Toyota brand appeal. Do you like the Tizer or do you like one of the other 9? Well, you got to tell us by not just leaving a comment on this video, but by going and voting. The best thing to do is to vote for your favorite so that it wins at the awards. To vote, go to acodrive.com/awards, select your favorite car and bike, and just tell us your details. Thank you for watching. And now you have to wait just a few more days to figure out which of these cars and bikes are going to get the maximum votes and drive home with the totem. Time to switch gears and get into AccoDrive. For hassle-free car service, in-depth reviews, great deals on new cars, and personalized advice from our experts.